Jason Rash. Dude, I don't know how I'm going to keep up with you on this podcast, but I'm going to do my best. You've got probably the most authentic, coolest energy level of anyone I've ever met. First of all, I'm grateful to you to have taken the time to sit here with me. You have a fascinating story, and it's not only about the fact that you're a transplant to Florida, a fairly recent transplant, but you've been through some things. You've also got a podcast that I want you to talk all about that helps people out on their journey financially. But when did you move to South Florida?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. We moved here and that's a hell of an intro too. We moved here, when did we move here? August of 2022.
So similar to us.
Yeah. Moved here, actually moved here because my wife, we're living out of Colorado. Everything's great. My wife has Lyme disease. Lyme disease is, it just affects the overall workings and mechanics of the body. Unfortunately, we didn't know that when we moved out to Colorado that elevation exasperates it, and so does cold air and cold weather. Yeah, so it was just, she was sick all the time. So we flew out to Hawaii in 2021, and she did amazing. Like, she's like, oh my God, we're moving here right now. I was like, I don't think so. And I thought about it really quick. I'm like, how can I mimic the actual atmosphere of Hawaii, South Florida? And here we are.
So you're living in Palm Beach?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I just live right down the road, man. It's great.
So people will notice that I'm in a different studio than I normally am, and that's because it's the only way I can get a hold of this guy is driving up here, and I'll tell you, it's well worth it. So you had like a super interesting story. You've been here for 9 months. What was your journey like coming down here? Because you've got some things that are pretty intense.
Do you mean like coming, like driving?
No. I'm talking about the come up and how you made down here. Because you lived in a trailer park, right?
Yep.
And now you're helping people out, mentoring people, and talking to them about financial stability and how to make it and how to grow it, how to keep it, and how to do all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you literally are a rags to riches kind of story. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we're rags to a little bit of money in our pocket. I wouldn't say riches, man. Still on the come up, brother. Still on the come up. So we came from the trailer park in Alabama. No college degree. We didn't have nothing, man. Like no mentors, no Tony Robbins, no YouTube, no nothing, man. Having to figure it out. But I knew that we could do something. I knew that I was destined to be more than just what's in that trailer, right? So this is 2000. I was me and my wife, my girlfriend at the time, and I married her in 2002. And she came home one day after we had our daughter in 2003. He's like, we're out of here. And I was like, huh? She literally put up a for sale sign and said, we're done. We're out of here. And I was like, okay. We had a meth drug lab to the left trailer of us. And we had a prostitution ring on the other side of us. Girls were coming in and out of this trailer. This old creepy dude lived there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. And there's just young girls all the time. It was insane, man. And my wife was like, we're out of here after the birth of our daughter. And I started really, really changing my life. We finally moved into a house, one that didn't have wheels, and we raised our little family there. But at the same time, I was like, man, we can do more. We can do more. We're destined for more. And my wife was like, hey, we're going to do this. I'm going into sales. You're going to keep your job. And I was making I think $11 an hour. And she went into sales. She killed it, did wonderful with it. She did so good that the CEO of the company in Cincinnati, Ohio, noticed her. Is like, hey, listen, look, how are you making all these sales? And started spotlighting her and stuff like that. And he was like, hey man, you guys should come up here. You guys should move up here. So we moved up there. He offered me a job as his personal trainer. I traveled around the world with him. That was super cool, man.
Wow.
Yeah. I went to Africa, went to Australia. I mean, it was insane, man. But I moved over there to Ohio. I was there for 4 to 5 years, and then I left, and then we moved out to Colorado, and here we are down in Palm Beach, man. It's been a hell of a ride, man. Along the way, I've almost lost my house in September of 2015. I almost lost my house stepping out to be an entrepreneur. And
what did you experiment with?
Yeah. So let me back this up real quick. So I worked for this gentleman from 2011 to all the way to March of 2015. I was done with it at that point in 2015. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go off and we're going to go do our own thing. So we started becoming entrepreneurs, and for the second time. And my wife and I, we started doing this online thing. We were selling this thing called a raw food challenge. We were trying to sell a food program. It didn't go as well as we thought it would go. And we ran out of money by the end of September or the end of August of 2015. And then so September of 2015, the house payment's due. And I'm like, I don't know how the heck we're going to make this house payment. I have no idea. I didn't want to go get a job. And I was 600 miles away from home. I didn't have any friends. Didn't make any friends in Ohio, really. And I was like, oh, my God, man, this is not going to be good. So I called the mortgage company and said, hey, look, I can't pay my bills. I don't know how I'm going to be able to make this house payment. I can't see any foreseeable way of making any future payments. They're like, look, here's what we want to do. We want to work with you. I was like, okay. I said, all right, well, let's work together then. So they basically cut my payment in half. I came up with the $700 a month somehow, some way. And thank God, by the grace of God, man, we made it through it for like 6 months, and then we finally got back on our feet again, and we jumped into sales and marketing, and here we are. I know I'm high leveling a lot of stuff.
No, I get it, because you try to condense the story, but I mean, it's also a journey, right? Because some people are looking to move to South Florida, which is the premise of can't shovel hurricanes, and they're either coming from, for the overwhelming majority, I find that people are coming from very comfortable, established lifestyles that can afford them that move, but with it comes a whole new element of insecurity that you never had before, because why would you leave a comfortable space? Why would you leave a comfortable situation? You didn't leave a comfortable, well, I guess when you got here, it was a lot more, right? You're already established, but why did you pick South Florida?
Well,
I mean, you mentioned Lyme disease, but I mean, from a business perspective, is there a strategy?
Oh, yeah. So in Colorado, the thing about Colorado is everyone loves to smoke weed. Everyone wants to do yoga. And look, whatever you do is whatever you do. There's nothing wrong with that. I was in the position where we were making a ton of money and unbelievably comfortable. Like, unbelievably comfortable. We were making like $100,000 a month, man. And I was like uncomfortable. I mean, excuse me, I was very comfortable. I mean, I'd gotten quote unquote fat and lazy, like mentally.
Right.
And so I was like, okay. And my wife was like, I really want to move. And it was like, where do we want to move? South Florida. But what's great about here, and the reason why we picked here, is because everybody here is hungry. Everybody here wants to build a business. And look, I love Colorado and Coloradians. Please don't take this the wrong way, but it's like I can only do so much yoga, meditation, hot spas or whatever you want to call that stuff, spring spas or hot springs, and or smoke so much weed. I don't even smoke weed, but I'm just saying, it's just like, okay, all right, that's out of the way. And then I would be, okay, let's go build a business. But no, it's Friday. Let's go hiking. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go hiking. I want to actually build a business. And there's not a lot of people there outside of Denver that are very business minded or very business oriented, just to be honest.
Why do you think that is like that here?
I think it's this way because there's a lot of people from other countries here, to be honest with you. I think it's that way. The hardest working people I've ever met are immigrants. Like the hardest working people I've ever met are immigrants, man. There's a whole lot of them here. And I'm like, well, let me just go where all the hardworking people are, because I'm going to get a little bit of that magic on me, right? Because I'd had it before, and I just watered it down and made it. And that's the thing about money, man. And success is like, everybody's like, well, I want to be successful. I like try and maintain that stuff. Like try to maintain it's even harder than actually getting it.
Yeah, you get acclimatized to a certain lifestyle. Yeah. Expenses go up, your bills go up. I got 3 kids in private school.
Correct.
That in of itself, now I've got to come up with we have to pay for healthcare here. Not that we didn't in Canada, it was buried in our taxes. But, it's part of the cash flow model here.
Right.
You talk about immigrants. So my parents immigrated twice. I guess in theory,
I bet they were hard workers, weren't they?
Incredible. And they've taught us everything that we know. And if it wasn't for them going without and giving us the opportunities, we would never be able to accomplish.
Right.
But what they gave us in addition to the opportunities was the work ethic.
Yeah.
Was the entrepreneurial spirit. Education was very important for them, and they made sure that my brother and I went through university and college. But I think school teaches you how to learn. It doesn't, I'm not a cubicle guy. I can't sit behind one.
No.
But because of the way they thought and the risks that they were willing to take, it's easier for me to adapt to that sort of lifestyle. And now being an immigrant to the United States, I know people want to assume and think that Canada and the United States are the same.
They're not.
And to be honest with you, I thought the same thing because we watch American TV, like we watch American shows.
You watch Friends.
Yeah, we watch Friends, and that we thought that it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially when you come down to Florida, it is different. The only thing we share is a language.
Right. And let me just be very clear. South Florida is different than the rest of the entire country. So there's an old saying that says the further north from Miami you get, the further south you go.
Right.
Like it's legit. So South Florida to me is just, dude, it's energy octane on high. I mean, everywhere I go, everybody wants to build a business. Everywhere I go, people are talking about investing. Everywhere I go, people talk about money. There's a lot of money here. A lot of money here.
So the distribution of wealth is definitely different here.
Absolutely, man. I mean, like, I love this place. I will probably never leave South Florida. I may migrate around the state a little bit, but I just, it doesn't bother me that people speak a different language. It doesn't bother me. None of that stuff bothers me because I can see the hustle. I can see the drive. I can see the tenacity. I can see just the dream in someone's eye. They're like, I'm going to make it, damn it. No matter what happens, come hell or high water, I'm going to make it. And this is where it's going to happen. That's what I love about this area.
I love the fact you say that because the people listening to my podcast are looking like, should we make the move? What's it been like for them?
Do it.
And they're on the fence.
Do it.
And I could tell you the overwhelming majority of people are thinking about, how do I reestablish? Can I make it? Will I make it? Right. And when you are surrounded by entrepreneurs and people that are trying to better their lives financially and otherwise, and there's many reasons why people leave, this place now has become a melting pot for people that really want to improve their lives.
Yeah. I mean, I would say if somebody's like, so let's say, and I love the can't shovel hurricanes. That's super cool. Let's say somebody wants to do this, right? I would say plan it out. Number one, I would say plan it. Like if you're going to do it, plant the flag in the sand and say, okay, in 36 months, we're going to move to South Florida. By the way, I wouldn't move anywhere else. Don't move anywhere else. Definitely don't move to California unless you want to get taxed like unbelievably. That's what another thing I love about Florida, but we'll talk about that later. But the thing is, like, if you're going to do it, plant the flag down in the sand and say, okay, 36 months, June 2026, we're moving down here. Right. And then start building residual income or start building a side business or get your investments right. Get everything in order because it is expensive to live down here.
Yes.
And I'm just going to call it what it is. It's far more expensive than I thought it was going to be. I lived in Colorado. I got $1 million house in Colorado, man. It is still there because I can't sell it. This is the thing about the U.S. housing market. But, it's a 4,000 square foot home, overlooks a cliff. It's absolutely incredible. And I can't sell it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back there this summer. But I live here in a 1,300 square foot apartment, $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing. And guess what I got to look at? I get a construction crane every damn day. And they're banging on stuff. I'm like, dude, come on.
So people don't understand the rental returns and the cash flow. From a day-to-day perspective, I will tell you that it's actually more expensive to live in South Florida than it is from people coming from Toronto. Maybe not so much New York. I think California's also got really expensive living costs, but their taxes are crazy. There's no state tax here in South Florida, and it's a tiered federal tax bracket here. So the more you make, the more you tax, up to, I believe it's 35%. Don't quote me on it.
42.
Is it 42?
I think it's 42.
All right. Okay. So 42, and that's probably north of 250.
I think it's 400, 410, 420, something like that.
Okay, fine. So yeah,
and then on top of that, you have a wealth tax,
right?
And then on top of that, you have. Oh, sorry, you want me to keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
And then on top of that, you have another tax, and I can't remember the name of it, but Joe Biden just passed it. Basically, if you're doing really, really well in this country, you're going to pay even more money.
All right, but
I have real estate, and I just I offset all that stuff.
So real estate's a good way to shelter capital because of 1031 exchanges and things like that. So what people don't know about 1031 exchanges, and if you own a real estate asset and you bought it for $100,000. Now it's worth $200,000, hypothetically speaking.
Sure.
You have 180 days to buy something that's over $200,000, and then they recapture all of the depreciation plus the capital gains, right? Or is it just the capital gains?
So let me rephrase it real quick. So you're right on the 180 days. It's 45 days you have to identify a property, and then you have another 45, I think, to close or something like that. I can't remember all the timelines, but I will say this: you can. It's like similar assets, and then you can just roll it all in there without paying taxes.
Right. So that does not exist in Canada.
Of course not.
And the capital gains tax is double. And when you're talking, you were giving me the breakdown of the taxes.
Yeah.
I bet you, no matter what you add, it doesn't even come close to what they pay in Canada.
Probably not. I mean, you guys are getting taxed like 55-60% of your entire income.
When you add in the harmonized sales tax in Ontario,
what is it called? A harmonized.
That's just the sales tax on goods. That's 13%.
Wait, harmonized?
Yeah, and the reason it was called harmonized is because we used to have two types of taxes on our goods and services. We had a GST, which I think it was a gross service tax or something like that, and then we had a PST, which is a provincial service tax. And what they did is they melded them together. It used to be 15%. They brought it down to 13. So when you're looking at your bottom dollar goods that you've spent on top after tax money, like groceries, for example, you're paying 13 points on top of that.
That's fun.
Yeah. So you're looking at like, I saw something years ago where you're essentially getting taxed like 75% of the dollar.
I'm sure, man. I'm sure of it.
It's something stupid. But you do get healthcare, right? And that's what they bury everything into under the healthcare guys.
I don't even have health insurance. I ain't even had health insurance in like 2013.
Really? So that is like an American phenomenon. I wouldn't walk the streets without it because
Really?
Well, yeah, imagine something horrible, God forbid, happens. What do you do?
Yeah, so I was going through we'll call it a cash crunch in October of 2019, and I was working super late, super stressed, and getting up super early, man. And I started drinking a lot of coffee, like 4 or 5 cups of coffee of unbelievably strong coffee, right? And then on top of that, I was doing CrossFit. So it was when I came back from a CrossFit that I had this massive panic attack. I had to be carried away. This is a Tuesday. I'll never forget it. Like Tuesday, October 12th, man, 2019. I got carried away in an ambulance off the side of a road. I couldn't drive my car anymore. It was unbelievably scary, man. It's the first time I've ever had a panic attack, man. And this is the thing about panic attacks is the very first one imprints your own mortality on you. You feel like you're going to die.
I've had multiple, so I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I actually beat all that stuff, but it took me a while. We could talk about that if you want to. But that one episode alone cost me about $13,000 to $15,000. Ambulance rides, emergency room visits.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, a couple hours later, they were like, "All right, you're fine."
Did you negotiate the bill?
I'm not done yet.
Oh,
it gets worse. It gets better. Thursday, the same shit happened. They had to come and get me off the side of a road again. And I was like, what the hell is happening here, man? Like, what is going on? So about a month later, I get a bill for like, I want to say it was like $31,000. And this is funny because you're talking about this because I had my friend actually message me the other day. Said, man, do you have health insurance? And the answer is no. Anyway, I get
listening to you is giving me anxiety.
I get the bill, right? And I'm like $31,000, $32,000. So I was like, okay, all right. Let me call the hospital here. So I called the hospital. I want to say their total bill was like 13 grand or 14 grand of it.
All right.
I called them and I said, look, I don't have health insurance. That's a lot of money. How can I, what can we do? What can we do? Do you guys have like a 87,000 month plan that I can pay on this thing? Like how far can I stretch this out? And she was like, here's what we're going to do for you, Mr. Rash. And I said, okay, what's that? And she said, we're going to take off half the bill. I was like, okay, all right. She said, we're a Catholic hospital and we can write that off. And I was like, why would you do that? She said, well, number one, we're going to have to haggle with the insurance company anyway. And it costs us labor and time on our side to do that. And we're having to pay a lot of people to do that just to get a little bit of money. But if you can come up with, I think I had offered them like $5,000 or something. And it's like, if you can give us the $5,000 a day, we'll knock off all the rest. And I was like, here, I'll give you the $5,000. So they were happy just to get the $5,000. They took the 5 over the 13 of like for years, right? So that's one thing. And then the second thing was like there was all these little sub-tier little companies I negotiated with. All of them, except for the ambulance company, they're like, hell no, we're not bending at all. You're going to pay us for over 36 months, and this is what you're going to pay us. No interest. I said, well, there's no incentive to pay it off early then if you're not going to charge me interest, right? So it was like $201 a month for like 36 months.
That's just for the ambulance.
That's just for the ambulance. And then like all the other little companies, I managed to negotiate them. I paid like probably 25% of all of them. I said, I called all and said the same script. Hey, look, I just went through this thing. It was unbelievably traumatic. I don't have a lot of money. I did have a lot of money.
Yeah, but they didn't. Doesn't mean they.
I was like, look, yeah. I might tell them that. I say, look, I can pay you X, Y, Z right now. If you could take it right now, I just want to be done with this. The burden of this is just too painful for me to bear. And they were like, let me go talk to my supervisor. They'd come back and be like, some of them would be like, okay, we'll take it. And other ones were like, well, if you can do this instead. I was like, that's a little much. I don't know if I can get that much hands on that much money today. If you could do this, I could do it. Like, okay, we'll take that. Okay, cool, done. I mean, they're just happy to get some money because most people don't ever even pay medical debt. So I wound up getting out of there. I want to say I paid a total of like, I don't know, close to 9, maybe 10, maybe 7, maybe 8. But you got to think for a family of 4, it's like $1,800, $2,100 a month to have insurance. Yeah, 24 grand. Yeah, 24 grand. I'm getting out of here with paying like 10 and like 10 grand in like 10 years.
What you need to understand right now, and I'm laughing because right now, just hearing you talk to the Canadians that are listening, and the podcast is split between Canadians and Americans. their head is exploding. And not only because of the healthcare piece, is because just hearing you talk and the way your demeanor is, you're quintessential America. Like, you know,
Americana.
Yeah. That's and to a Canadians are for the most part incredibly subdued, very calm. Some would say frigid. And people say that they're friendlier. I'd say they're more polite, because people are very hospitable here in the United States. I've said that multiple times.
Sure.
You know, they're a little more out there in your face, direct. When you're talking business to people in America, especially, you know, I don't want to generalize all of the United States, but in South Florida, which is my experience, they're a lot more open to having that discussion and discourse and trying to figure out how they can benefit from it. Whereby my business interactions with Canadians in general, is a feeling out process where you kind of have to figure out who's trying to get what out of where.
Sure.
And how to. So it's a completely different vibe. But you talking specifically on the healthcare front. So the way healthcare works in Canada is this: if you had an episode like the one that you had, you called an ambulance, they take you into the emergency room. It sounds somewhat cardiac to what you explained. So you'd be rushed right in. You'd be taken right into the hospital. They do all the stuff, you know, the EKG, the blood work, the x-rays, all that stuff on the spot. And hopefully, like you were, it was just an anxiety or panic attack, which I'm not minimizing, are very serious. I've been through them multiple times. You go home and you're done.
Yeah.
All right. And it's a beautiful thing, because everybody gets an opportunity to be treated in the same way, and they don't get stuck with a bill like you do, because in Ontario, which is a province in Canada that I'm from, it's called the OHIP, Ontario Health Insurance Plan, and that covers it. But the thing that boils my blood, and there's pros and cons to both when I talk to Canadians, and there's normal conversation about, you know, but you have to pay for healthcare here. I'm like, but you're paying for it in Canada.
Right.
I paid more in taxes last year that would buy me the Rolls Royce of healthcare systems policies for the next 20 years for my entire family. It is not free. No such thing as free. The difference here is that you get quicker access. And if you need like specialists in Canada, you could be waiting months.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
It is. So I hate that like life isn't black and white. It never is. But here, you negotiated down. The hard part is, and that's what, you know, the entire premise of life insurance and health insurance is, if God forbid something terminal happens, something legit, and you know that individual may not be around to pay for it, but their families will for the rest of their lives. Yeah.
Now here's the deal, man. I am a pretty healthy dude. I eat healthy. I don't smoke. I'll have a drink every now and then. I don't drink at home. You know, I'm pretty healthy. I work out. If something, number one, traumatic happens, like a car crash, they're going to take care of me, and I'll just negotiate my bill later. But if something like terminal, like cancer, my father passed away in 2020, and dude, he had he said he run up about six before he passed away. He was like, I think I got about $6 million in charges, but he was in the United States, armed forces, so he got covered. We called it bumper to bumper coverage. So like you're guaranteed for life. If you're serving the military, you're guaranteed for life. That's how it was then. I don't know if it's how it is now.
Do you get access to all of the hospitals, or because it sounds like a veterans plan?
My dad did.
Right. So
I don't get anything.
Yeah, but there's networks here. Like, is he part of all the networks, or does he?
He passed away.
No, I understand. But when he was, can he have access to any hospital, or was it specific like hospitals for veterans?
No, I mean, he was like in the best hospital, cool. There's a huge cancer center, in Alabama. And
I lost my father to cancer too, man. It's a nasty grind.
It is, brother. It is, man. And, I mean, like you said, it was like every day. So
doesn't that scare you? Don't you feel like you should be carrying health insurance?
So I thought about this. I probably will pick it up when I'm like in my 50s, probably. Because I just look, man, those dudes got big buildings. They get like $200 million payouts, man. Like, it's the people that are scared. I'm not going to say scared, but it's the people that feel like they have to have health insurance that builds all that stuff. It's the same thing with Wall Street, man. I mean, it's just, they just scrape people for money, man. I mean, and to fund their lifestyle.
So you're,
I mean, go have something to go have the best health insurance and then go try to make a claim. Like, they cover so little now that it's not even almost not even worth it. Like, for most of them, the math is always in their favor. It's always in their favor. So I was like,
that's capitalism, baby. That's America.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's why I was like, look, man, I'll just roll the dice and I just won't get it for like 20 years.
Can they deny you care if you go without
Nobody's going to let me bleed out. I didn't have anybody ask me when I was having a panic attack on the side of the road, like, Mr. Rash, your heart rate is 133. Hey, wait a minute. Do you have health care?
But isn't that a recent phenomenon that was just implemented the last couple of years where if you go to the emergency room, they cannot deny you care? Because that might have
been. I know that when Obama was in office, he made like everybody and he penalized you for not having health care. I think what he did was a lot of people were coming into the hospital and they weren't paying their bills. So like, it's kind of like the car insurance thing. So in America, you have to have car insurance. Like the reason why they made
But you don't have to have medical insurance.
Correct. The reason why they made it a law is because car insurance isn't that expensive. So an individual that is on the lower income side, they can still afford $40 a month. That's why they made it like that. So like they're still covered. Everybody still got some coverage. So it's $40 a month for $1 million in liability. Whereas here in healthcare, it could be, my God, if you got 4 kids, I mean, it could be $2,400 a month. I mean, you can't expect
plus co-pays.
Correct. You can't expect an individual to be mandatory locked into that and then penalize them for not being able to. It's like, well, do I put food? And this is how we did it. It was either like I was not making a lot of money in 2013. So it was like, do I put food on the table or do I get health insurance?
Right.
I'm obviously it's like, cut the health insurance out. They may penalize me later on. Like, well, you had a gap in coverage. What? I don't care. I was able to put food on the table.
Does that work with medical insurance as well? If you have a gap in coverage, then you get penalized for it?
I just made that up on the spot, but I'm sure that's probably some sort of something.
Auto insurance is definitely
applicable. You had a gap in coverage. I'm like, well, whatever. Right. You got a gap between your teeth. Shut up. You know what I'm saying?
Insurance is a real problem here on every facet. Car insurance is a little more expensive. And when I did my car insurance, people
here down in South Florida, you mean? Yeah, bro. Like everybody here drives crazy. Like it's unbelievably
crazy. It's the worst drivers I've seen in my life.
I've never seen anything like it before in my entire life.
Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of people come from the north and then they just like
Canada North because we drive.
No, not that far north. Not that far north. We're talking like New York, New Jersey, things like that.
New Yorkers, they're the problem.
That's
right?
the problem. You need to get out. If you're in Palm Beach listening to the sound of my voice and you're in New York, get out. Right? They got to get out, man. That's how it is. No, I mean, dude, these people right here drive crazy, brother. I mean, so I bought a Tesla, man, and I was just like, I got to get I feel like I'm in a roll cage, man.
Do you ever use the autopilot feature?
All the time.
Really?
All the time. I just got it last week, man, but I use it all the time. Between now and last week, I use it all the time.
All right. So car insurance is expensive. And I'll tell people, like, it's incredible when you, like, I live in a gated community. So every time I step out of my gated community and it turns green for me to go, I watch an accident. The same accident happen every single week. People run reds here consistently.
Yeah, all the time.
So the accident that usually happens is that somebody decides midway through the intersection that they're running a red and maybe they shouldn't.
I'm guilty of that.
They slow down. And then, boom, they get rear-ended from behind. And I watch this happen once a week. Right. The other thing is that there is an older demographic, specifically where I'm at around Boca.
I think that's just in this general area, to be honest with you. South Florida just is filled with a bunch of old people, geezers. But I don't know what you want to call them, but they got
people that are snowbirding.
They're like 90. We're talking like 93 years old.
So there's a lot more of those people driving here than they are in Canada. I think it's because of the weather allows and permits for that. And they're vacationing here. But home insurance.
I wouldn't call them vacationing. I would call it infiltrating here.
Oh, is that what it is?
I would call it that. Yeah, man, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's such a major help to the economy here, the snowbirds. They make up such a massive demographic of people that come down here.
They do.
Especially to like Palm Beach.
Yeah.
Right?
Have you seen the roads? There's like nobody on the roads now.
Yeah,
wait. Yeah. I mean, wait until like October comes, dude. It's going to be like, I swear to God, man, the light will be red. And before that, the nanosecond that light turns green, I mean, they are like on it, bro. And I'm like, I haven't even had time to shift from the brake to the gas.
It's crazy that you say that. And you know why? That the only people that are honking their horns here are snowbirds. And you know why? Because they forgot that everybody here is strapped. Everybody's carrying. I find the road rage is way worse in Canada because everyone's quick on the horn and to flip you the bird because nobody's carrying guns in Canada. You're not worried about here.
Right.
Everybody's got guns. So you'll think twice.
I got guns.
Yeah, I'm sure
I got
you do.
guns.
You're
I'm from
American.
Alabama.
I thought you were probably born with one. You were
I had a gun.
You
in
were
my
given
hand.
one on your 3rd birthday.
Yeah, I popped out the wound and my dad handed me a gun.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
here you go.
What kind of gun?
I have a 357.
Okay.
It's awesome, man. Like, it's awesome.
Isn't
But
that like a
first-
hand cannon?
Yeah, something like that. So I had a Glock first. That was the first gun I bought. Was a Glock. I think it was a M19 federal issued Glock. That's
police issue.
Yeah, police issues. This was the FBI agents used, and it was cool. I thought it was cool at the time I got it. And my friend was like, "Dog, try this out." And so in Colorado, you can shoot guns out in the middle of the woods, like right off the side of the road. They have certain areas you pull over and you can just start firing guns. It's insane, bro. It's insane. This is out in the backwoods of Colorado, man. That's one thing I do love about Colorado. I'm going to miss. But he handed me this. It's a what is it? 357. I'm trying to think of the brand.
I fired one. I did it once. I'll never do it again.
Bro, it's beautiful, man. It's like got a stainless steel. The whole body's stainless. He put it in my hand, dude. Okay, so I got my Glock in one hand, and he hands me this gun, and it's like the base of this, dude. It's pick your mic up real quick. That's about how heavy that gun is, right?
Yeah.
And he handed it to me. It's got this rubber hand grip. It felt firm. And I was like, if this thing runs out of bullets, if this thing runs out of bullets, I can knock somebody over the head and knock them out. But bro, I fired it into a watermelon. I mean, it just, dude, it lit it up, man. I was like, this is incredible, man. Like, so with the Glock, I can go as fast as I can squeeze the triggers, as fast as it's going to shoot out bullets. But with a 357, I have to let the revolver roll to the next chamber.
Right.
But bro, I'm telling you, man. So with the Glock, if somebody comes through your door with the Glock and you got like bulletproof, what is it called? The Teflon bullets. Hollow points. If you've got that, that's still not going to stop them, man. I mean, it's still just going to, it may just, if they're on drugs, it may just like piss them off a little bit. But if you got a 357, bro, it's going to blow a hole in their body. Like, I'm talking like a hole that you can see through.
What caliber does the Glock shoot? Is it like a
9.
Oh, and you think that's what's going to stop somebody?
I mean, dude, you're going to have to probably use all 17 of those shells to stop somebody if they're like on some serious drugs. But dude, it takes one. We're done. Yeah, that's why it comes to sit. My friend was like, I was like, man, you can only fire 6. He's like, bro, I only need 1. I was like, you're right.
It is such a big part of the American culture.
It is. It's powerful, man.
Absolutely.
It's what we were raised on.
But are you scared of it? Does it ever concern you? Really?
Not at all. It's not like that gun's going to go fire off on its own. Like, it's walking around the house all evil. Like, who can I shoot tonight? Like, bouncing around on the handle, the rubber grip. It's just bouncing down the road.
Do you have it like properly?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Like a trigger lock and stuff.
So I've got it locked in like a little what do you call it? Like a safe, like a numeric keypad. You got to have your fingerprint to open it up.
Your kids know you have a gun?
Yeah, I got my gun. Me and my boy, he's 15. We go out there and we shoot guns.
Do you ever carry conceal?
No, I don't carry it on me.
Would you?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with other people carrying it?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Again, Canadians listening to this are going, holy. But
yeah, it doesn't bother me. None of that bothers me, man.
I think that also
I think Americans are pretty responsible too with their guns. Some aren't, obviously. The shootings.
Okay. I have a firearms license from Canada. I do not own any firearms.
Dude, you need to get one.
I actually thought I have an E2 visa here, so I walked into a gun shop here to find out whether I'm allowed to have one. It's no, and I won't get one until I get my green card, which is hopefully within the next year or two.
Yeah.
But the gun culture here is so real. But responsible gun owners are not the problem. They're never the problem. At least I don't want to butcher the stats, and I haven't read them in a while. But responsible gun owners will kill themselves before they kill anyone else.
Yeah.
Right. They'll use it. That's the biggest threat, that they'll use it towards themselves. Irresponsible gun owners are the ones that do things like, the Parkland shooting and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But those are mental health issues. And the people with mental health issues and the access is what's terrifying to a lot of people here. Because then they just also pass something where if you just did time, you can walk out of prison and walk into a gun store and have a gun the same day.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's a federal law that you can't do that. I don't think it's a state level. I think it's a federal level. If you've served time, been incarcerated, have a felony, that you can't own a handgun. I think that's how it is from the federal level.
I'm gonna have to find that out.
Yeah, double check
send it back to you but the gun culture here is probably what kept the streets open during COVID. There would have been a lot of people angry here and and rightfully so.
Well, I feel like guns are extinction of a right. I don't think it's about the gun, to be honest with you. I think it's just the ability to be able to protect yourself. I mean,
Is that, or is it government tyranny, which is what the gun is for, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that what the Second Amendment says?
yeah, I mean, for me, all right, so let me just tell you why I own a gun. So in Colorado, I had the big, huge house, and I had a lot of access points into the house. I live in a condo now. There's only one way in, one way out. I'm on like the third floor. So it's not like I'm worried about anybody coming through the door, but in case they do, you know, I've got a gun.
By the time you get into that case, put in the code, put in your finger, take off the trigger. Like, you're not going to protect yourself. You're going to use a baseball bat quicker.
That's probably more true. But also, whenever my son leaves and it's just me and my wife, I'll probably just have it unlocked.
Really?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So you're teaching your kids to be respectful of firearms.
That's the whole reason why I teach them how to fire the firearm. It's like, look, you got to respect guns. That's what we lead with. Like, you have to respect this thing. And so, you know, unfortunately, there's parents that don't do that. Unfortunately, but I mean, I came from. I don't know if they have this in Canada. I grew up in like the Boy Scouts.
Yeah,
things like that. Like, so I was always out in the woods. I was always messing around. My grandfather taught me how to shoot a shotgun at like 10 years old. He like blew me back and knocked me on the ground. Thought it broke my shoulder, man. But it made me, he's like, I bet you respect that thing now, boy.
Yeah.
That's just how he tried. That's just kind of how grandparents did it. They just threw you in the lake and you had to learn to swim, man.
Yeah. I still came from that generation.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, like for guns though, I mean, I taught my son how to shoot a gun and he loved it, man. Like he was really, really scared of it. I said, listen, don't be scared of this. He was scared of it. I said, you're just scared of the impact and you're scared of the kick. Watch. Bam, I just fired it off. And he's, oh, and I said, do you want to see it again? Bam, I just fired it again to another tree. And I said, now I want you to do the same thing. Here's how you're going to stand. This is how you hold it. This is how you do it. Never point it. I went through all the laws and stuff like that, but he respects it now. He understands it, and he understands not to be afraid of it.
So you're comfortable with people walking around with guns?
I mean...
Yeah, look, I admire the fact that you didn't jump up and answer right away, because even though you respect the firearms,
yeah, of course, it's
not,
the people. It's always the people.
Always
man.
the people.
It's like real estate, right? It's the real estate is not the problem. It's the people that are in the real estate that have the problem. So I mean, it's a situation where I agree, man. There are certain people, obviously, that do not need a gun in their hands. Every time I see, my son goes to a private school and they have security guards. They had 3, and I think after that last shooting in Tennessee, they upped it to like 6 or 7. All of these guys have large guns. I'm talking like large assault rifles and multiple guns, multiple clips. Yeah, it's like an army out there. But you also have people that are like high level into politics, high level business. So, I mean, they take their kids to school there. So I mean, they're like, hey, look, I mean, there's a gate all the way around the whole entire school. I mean, you're not getting into it. It's locked down like Fort Knox, and they get those guys out there. All of them are trained ex-military. Some of them Navy SEALs. I mean, I'm getting chill bumps right now just thinking about the level of protection my kids in. I mean, it
makes you sleep better.
Hell yeah! Every time I walk by, I'm like, I appreciate you. And he's got a gun. It's like like 36 inches long, man, maybe 48 inches long. I mean, am I worried about him? No, I'm not worried about him, because I know where his allegiance lies.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's the person that's only fired a gun once, that's got a chip on their shoulder, that wants to take it out on somebody else, that doesn't have the emotional maturity to like understand that I need to do some inner work before I go off and try to shoot a bunch of people. That's the person that really scares me. But those aren't the majority of people that you'll find. Majority of people are just like me. They've been raised around a gun. They had somebody show them in the woods, handing them a shotgun and say, blow that tree down, and boom, they get scared of it, and then they learn to respect it.
You see, I come from both sides of it, where I never thought about that kind of security. We never had an incident that I can think of in Canada, because guns are not very accessible. They're very difficult to get licensed.
Why you got to wonder why that is, though, man?
Well, I mean, there's arguments that could be made back and forth, but I know a lot of people that are responsible gun owners, and they have it, and it's mainly for hunting.
Yeah.
It's never really about this protection thing. I don't buy it, because unless you have your gun in your nightstand, locked and loaded with the safety off, when somebody's coming in, you're not going to have enough time to be like, hold on, let me go get it out of the safe.
Yeah.
Let me get the trigger lock off.
I only keep it locked because of my son.
I get it. But
I don't keep it locked for me or my wife.
I understand it. And she's cool with this? She's okay with the gun?
I was just thinking about that. There are some times when I probably should lock it up before I give her the bad news.
Really?
I'm teasing. No, I'm just teasing.
So you don't get that stuff. So
right.
If we lived in a world that nobody had any firearms, I'd be totally cool with it.
Yeah.
Right. But since here, it's everywhere, and I'd probably say that there's like 3 guns to every person. You need it. You need security.
So I'll go ahead and say this. I've got an uncle. and he was in the Vietnam War. And I've got about 15 minutes and I got to go grab my son. I just want to tell you that. So he was in the Vietnam War. I went to his house and he had probably 300 357s.
What?
He has safe after safe after safe after safe after safe after safe after safe. I mean, unbelievable.
What do you need that many for?
He was in the Vietnam War and he like loves guns. He likes to repair them. He likes to restore them.
Okay, so he's a hobbyist. Or he's waiting for apocalypse because
I think it's more. I think that's more what it is.
Okay.
But he also taught me a lot about guns coming up too as well. But I mean, it was just staggering at the amount of guns that he had, and I was just like, I think for most people when it comes to guns that are comfortable with the guns, it's a level of security that they can control. And it's not in the hands of another individual. Let me call the police. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got this. Let me take care of this. Because there's guys out there like me. I want to take care of it. Whatever it is, I want to be the one to protect my family. I want to be the one that makes all the moves. I want to be the one that steps up and stops that person from killing anyone else in my family. You know what I'm saying? I don't have time to like.
And you're allowed to do that here.
Yeah.
If you shoot somebody in your house, if you're being threatened.
It depends. It depends. In some states, if you shoot somebody in the back, you could still go to jail even though they were inside your house.
Right. That's a scary thing to put
now
up.
That shit's scary because I'm like, if anybody comes to my house, I'm going to blast the shit out of them. I don't care who it is. I'm going to shoot them anywhere, anyhow, anyway. I don't care if they run. I don't care what they do because they could be running back to go get another gun that they dropped. Nobody knows.
Never had to think about stuff like that. We do not have gated communities. We don't have guards at the doors in Canada. There's a lot to be said about that security or lack thereof, right? But I mean, when in Rome, I'm in your country, I'm in your land, I have to adapt to your rules. We knew full well coming in here what to expect, but it's some of those things that it's taxes, healthcare, guns, and with that goes security.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the things you have to consider, and I wouldn't change my decision to move down to South Florida for anything. I love it.
I wouldn't see why you would, man. The ability to just say whatever you want to say, do whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. I mean, that's the greatest thing of all, man.
Yeah.
I can't imagine going anywhere else.
Yeah, freedom of choice.
They probably kill me in another country. You can't say that. You can't do that. Off with your head.
I don't think they can keep up with you in another country. So you'll be just fine
probably
anywhere else.
Yeah, come and get me. But
Jason, dude, you're an amazing human being. Your podcast is. You want to plug it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's Where's My Money. It's a fantastic podcast, The Ultimate Money Strategies. That's actually not the name of it, but it is called Where's My Money, The Ultimate Money Strategies. You guys can find me on Facebook under Jason Rash, R-A-S-H. You can also find me on Instagram, Jason Rash, R-A-S-H. You can also find me on my website, jasonrash.com.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. We'll talk about guns next time.
Sober insight into a lot of things, brother.
Yeah,
take it easy.